Yeah, hi there. These comments are for MZ, and I am Michael, the founder, owner, and the materials writer for all of your lessons at the 7-step system to pass the TOEFL IBT. Alright, so you completed integrated writing practice test number 8, so here we go. So, pretty good introduction. The only problem is when you look at the lecture, it does oppose the points made in the reading passage, but it's not completely saying that fast food restaurants are contributing positively to the health of our society, but it is arguing a few points we'll get into in just a minute. So you have, and the other thing I'd recommend here, if you start talking about the lecture here, then I would start with the lecture here and finish talking about the lecture, and then right after that you can talk about the reading. You have the lecture opposes that the long-term effects of obesity are the result of the food, as the reading passage suggests, although fast food restaurant chains provide, you have provide and cheap food. You don't even need that. You can just say maybe provide cheap food. The long-term effects of obesity are a result of the food. Probably need a period here, and then the problem is it's not exactly clear where this information is coming from here. I can see that this is coming from the lecture, and then the long-term effects of obesity are a result of the food, as the reading suggests, but then you see although fast food chains provide cheap food, the long-term effects are a result of the food. You might say, according to the author in the reading passage. And the word in fact is not the right word, because you now have an opposite idea here. You want to say in fact, you want to say however. According to the lecture, there is no scientific evidence to show that calories and obesity have a direct relationship. For example, all they absorb calories, they don't go to exercise, so it leads, I don't know. The problem here is I need to check into, I got to check in the actual lecture here. You're saying according to the lecture there's no evidence to show that calories and obesity have a direct relationship. Okay, so let's take a look at the lecture now. The lecture is saying, in American society we have fast food chains like McDonald's, Burger King, Taco Bell, and Kentucky Fried Chicken. Let's discuss the causes of obesity before we blame it on fast food chains. The main point in the lecture here is obesity is caused by an inactive lifestyle along with consuming more calories than are needed in a day. You see what I'm saying there? This idea is very important. So what you have said here, let me highlight this here in red. This is not really accurate. I mean, according to the lecture is saying that, of course, eating more calories can cause obesity, but the lecture is saying that there's more than that. It's the inactive lifestyle that many people in society have, and that also causes obesity. So it's not just eating at the fast food restaurants, but it's an inactive lifestyle. So you have not mentioned that in the lecture here. So this is what I call your misrepresenting information from the lecture. That's not good. That's not good for you. What this is showing me that you do not understand what you have listened to in the lecture. Okay, let's go to the next point. Second of all, the reading passage presents a point that fast food also contributes to an unhealthy society that is plagued with cholesterol, diabetes, and heart disease. I would probably do this. Let's combine these two sentences here. Then you can say whereas, and then show. Whereas the listening passage claims that fast food restaurants also make the healthy food for people. For example, providing apples and other fruits for children, and also have more options. You might say here. But let's go into the reading passage. What you have to do, you have to look at what the key point is and then contrast that with the key point in the lecture. Okay, so if you look at the reading passage in the lecture, you have to look at this idea. It's saying that society is unhealthy because the options for fast food are limited, although street food in countries like China and Mexico provide options with vegetables and fruit. Also, fast food advertisements have unfortunately helped unhealthy people become a staple of the American diet. I don't think this idea is that important, but the limited options, I think, is very, very important. You did not mention that. Okay, now let's take a look at what it says here. It says I think here's the idea. Fast food chains do serve mostly fat and cholesterol-driven food. So it acknowledges that fast food restaurants do have high fat and high cholesterol food. But it also says we have now created options like apples or fruit or for kids or more salad options. That's what you're not saying. So you have limited options are provided at fast food restaurants for a healthy society. The lecture disagrees with that and says even though fast food restaurants do have high fat and high cholesterol food, they do offer more options now for healthy food. That's something that you did not mention. Okay, so still in these first two body paragraphs, you're not exactly catching, I think, the key point from the reading and the lecture. So if you compare with what you wrote here, and then we go to the essay that scored higher, it says here, the reading passage says that fast food causes obesity because this kind of food contains many calories and fat. On the other hand, the lecture says that obesity is caused by an inactive lifestyle. Although the author in the audio grants the excess of calories in fast food, he argues that the real reason for obesity comes from sedentary activities like watching TV and playing video games. It's this information, I think, that you did not say that causes your score to go lower. Now, if we go to the next paragraph, we look at what you wrote, then we compare with what the speaker says. The reading passage says that fast food creates an unhealthy society because the options in these kinds of restaurants are limited. In contrast, the lecture says that in some states like California and New York, actually now restaurants show to their customers the information about calories of each item in the menu. Furthermore, there are different options in fast food restaurants like apples, fruits, or salads. Again, you didn't say anything about the options. There's nothing really mentioned here about how fast food restaurants have unlimited or have limited options for healthy food according to the reading passage. And then on the other hand, the lecture says there are more options for healthy food at fast restaurants, which directly opposes a point in the reading passage. So you weren't able to really juxtapose those two key points from the reading and the lecture. All right, let's go to the last one here. It says the lecture poses that idea about gluttony, as the reading passage claims that fast food restaurants encourage gluttony. In fact, according to the listening passage, you want to say people can decide how much soda and food they wish to consume. But what you're not saying is why do these restaurants encourage gluttony, right? They encourage gluttony because the fast food restaurants are offering unlimited refills and incredible amounts of food that customers can eat, right? So you're still not, in all these three body paragraphs, you're not really getting what I consider the main point. You're getting distracted by all kinds of minor details, or you're putting information here that's not even mentioned in the lecture, so you definitely do not want to do that. Okay, so let's compare this paragraph to what this person said here. The reading passage says that fast food promotes gluttony because people can drink unlimited sodas with too much sugar. On the other hand, the author in the lecture argues that people can control their consumption so they can enjoy fast food, but they can also decide how much they should drink and eat. Alright, so what do we have here? Really, to be honest with you, you haven't really done an adequate job explaining the main point in the reading and contrasting that with the main point in the lecture. You didn't do very well in all these three body paragraphs. So then the question is, what is your actual score here, right? So let me go to the integrated writing rubrics. We can figure this out. Okay, so we have to see what your score is going to be here. So part of your problem here is it's not just a writing problem, it's an overall language problem. So it looks like you're having problems when you're reading information, trying to get the main points from those reading passages. Likewise, when you're listening to a lecture, you're also having trouble, I think, getting the main point there. You can understand, I think, different points here or there, but what you're having trouble with is getting the overall connection, understanding exactly how the main point in the reading is related to the main point in the lecture. This is where you're having difficulty. Alright, so let's take a look at your score here. You're not going to score in the 4 area. I think it's going to be tough to even get in the 3 area here. Your response has omitted at least one major key point in the lecture. Your response conveys an incomplete, inaccurate, imprecise connection of the ideas in the lecture or the ideas in the reading passage. Let's go here. Here's where I got to put you in this too again. I'll be honest with you. It says here, you have not demonstrated an understanding of how the information in the lecture is connected to the information in the reading passage. So you're having a lot of problems. You also have some language issues in there, but still, you did a lot of work and you wrote a lot in there. I'm going to give you some credit for that, but I'm going to put you right now at about 2.5 out of 5, 17 points out of 30 on this particular practice test. Now, for the purposes of our class, if we look in the syllabus here, 2.5 is going to put you at 70%. What can you learn from this? You need a lot of practice. I think vocabulary practice is important for you. I recommend for the next few weeks, work in the reading part of my course, the vocabulary part of my course, and the listening part of my course. I think you have to work on those issues first before you can improve your writing. Because if you can't understand what you read and you can't understand what you've listened to, then how in the world can you write a summary? How do you write a summary based on information that you don't understand? That's not going to work, right? You have to make sure you can understand what you read and what you've listened to before you can start writing about that information. All right, anyway, thank you for completing the writing test.